Alright, welcome back. So today I'm going to start working on this rear shock tower brace. The car is going to be running full coilovers, and bracing the shock towers together will make things stronger and more rigid back here to prevent any twisting or damage to the shock towers. For maximum rigidity, I decided to set myself back a little bit and weld these in. Although it's a decent amount of work for a small piece, it's definitely most effective if it's welded in, so that's what we're going to do. In my last video I mentioned I was going to have to modify it a bit just to get it to fit a little better. The fitment is pretty disappointing. It fits pretty snug between the shock towers, which is really good, but that's about it. The holes at the top are off. The gaps here are pretty big. Looking at this in person, I'm really not digging the way this gets installed. Mainly just get rid of those gaps I showed so I can get it welded in for good instead of bolting it in like the instructions are telling me. The other thing I did say was the brace holes didn't line up at the top with the shock tower holes, and that's technically true, but luckily it's not as bad as I thought. The brace hole's diameter is larger, and they're actually offset out a little wider than the shock tower holes. And because they're larger in diameter, they still line up with the inner edge of the shock tower hole, so it's not a problem. Hopefully that makes sense. I have a 3/4 inch bolt in here that fits through no problem with a bit of slack still. So no modification needed in that department. So yeah, other than that, there's nothing left to it but to do it. And since I'm going to be cutting and welding on this thing anyway, I had an idea that would give it a little something extra. Nothing crazy, super simple, but still a nice added touch. Let's get started. Alright, so one of the things I knew I was going to have to do after welding the brace in was to peel back some of the dynamat around the welded areas to see if the heat melted back any of the seam sealed areas near the shock towers. I was kind of concerned in these areas, and I'm happy to say that everything looks really good and is still intact. Probably a little dark to see here, but it's all unharmed, it's all intact, and that is awesome. I do need to clean up and reapply some seam sealer down this seam where I had to get it out of the way of the weld. I also took a little bit more seam sealer off here than I wanted to, so I'll fix up this area too. But other than that, the seams look great. Again, I was mainly concerned with the heat damaging the sealer, but that didn't happen, so we're good to go. I'll go ahead and get the areas I mentioned cleaned up and prepped. Then I'm going to clean up the towers, mask everything off, respray the towers in some more epoxy to seal it off, and then it's going to finally get a 2K single stage gloss black top coat. I decided to keep it black to go with the rest of the chassis and then just have only the roll bar done in silver. I think that'll look really clean and sharp, and since it will be visible from the trunk area, a little bit of gloss won't hurt anybody.